Imagine a world of impossible blues. Close your eyes and feel the warmth of a sun that never seems to tire. The grain of sand so fine it feels like powdered silk between your toes, and the rhythmic, hypnotic pulse of the Indian Ocean. This is the Maldives in the brochure, a scattered constellation of 1,192 coral islands, where time is measured in cocktails and sunsets. We call it paradise. We pay thousands of dollars to disappear into its turquoise embrace. But as the seaplane climbs, leaving the manicured infinity pools of the private resorts behind, a different geometry begins to emerge. From 3,000 feet, the illusion of an untouched Eden starts to crack. You see a plume of dark, acrid smoke rising from a turquoise lagoon. You see islands so densely packed with concrete that they look like circuit boards floating in a void. You see the fragile skeletal remains of reefs that have turned white, like ghosts haunting their own home. This is where the postcard ends and the truth begins. Here is the reality the maps don't show you. The Maldives is not a static tropical playground. It is a nation on the absolute edge of existence, fighting a silent, multi-front war against trash, rising tides, and the very luxury that keeps its economy alive. Beneath the surface of the one island, one resort policy lies a geographic paradox. The Maldives is the lowest-lying country on Earth, with an average elevation of just 1.5 meters above sea level. In this landscape, geography isn't just a setting, it is a countdown. To understand this place, you have to look past the overwater villas and into the local islands, the places where the Maldivian people, the Dhivehi, navigate a life that is increasingly at odds with the changing climate. This is a story of a culture caught between the weight of ancient oceanic traditions and the crushing demands of 21st century globalization. We think of the Maldives as a destination, but for those who call it home, it is a fortress under siege. Before we dive deeper into the hidden corners of these atolls, make sure to subscribe to Pride Traveler TV. We go beyond the horizon to bring you the stories that the travel industry keeps in the shadows. To truly understand the dark side of this paradise, we must travel to a place that tourists never see. This is Thilafushi. To the casual observer from a distance, it looks like just another island in the North Malé atoll. But as you get closer, the smell hits you before the sight does. Thilafushi is an artificial island, born not of coral and sand, but of the sheer excess of the tourism industry. It is known quite literally as Rubbish Island. Every day, hundreds of tons of solid waste from the capital, Malé, and the surrounding luxury resorts are ferried here. In a nation where there is no away to throw things to, Thilafushi became the ultimate carpet under which the country swept its problems.
For decades, the method here was simple and devastating: open-air burning. Toxic plumes of smoke containing dioxins and heavy metals drifted across the pristine waters, a stark industrial scar on the face of the archipelago. Massive pits were dug into the sand, filled with everything from plastic bottles and electronics to construction debris and hazardous chemicals, then covered with a thin layer of sand. The geography of Thilafushi is a manufactured nightmare. It has grown at a rate of nearly 1 square meter per day as the waste of paradise is used to literally expand the landmass. Here, the humanized geography is a testament to survival through desperation. Workers labor in this haze of smoke and stench, sorting through the remnants of luxury. They live in shipping containers, separated from the five-star world by just a few miles of water, but a lifetime of privilege. This is the logistical underbelly of your vacation. Every plastic straw banned at a resort, every gourmet meal flown in from Europe, leaves a footprint that eventually finds its way to these burning shores. As we move from the toxic smoke of Thilafushi, we must look deeper into the blue. The Maldives is a masterpiece of biological engineering, the work of tiny polyps building massive limestone structures over millions of years. These atolls are the lungs of the Indian Ocean.
However, as global temperatures rise, the oceans are absorbing the heat, leading to mass coral bleaching events. In 2016, a catastrophic El Niño event wiped out nearly 60% of the coral in some areas of the Maldives. When the coral dies, the island's natural defense system vanishes. Without the reef to break the power of the waves, the islands begin to dissolve. This is not a future threat, it is a present reality. On many local islands, the sea is reclaiming the land inch by inch. Graveyards are being washed into the ocean, and homes are being fortified with makeshift seawalls made of sandbags and rubble. If this exploration is opening your eyes, please leave a comment below. Have you ever visited a destination and felt that something was being hidden from you? Your engagement helps Pride Traveler TV continue to uncover the truth. The irony is profound. The Maldives is one of the smallest contributors to global carbon emissions, yet it stands on the front line of the consequences. The tourist version of the nation offers a sense of permanence, but the geographic reality is one of extreme fluidity. The islands are essentially living organisms that shift with the monsoons. By trying to fix them in place with concrete to accommodate tourism, humans are inadvertently killing the natural processes that allow the islands to breathe and grow. To understand the human cost, we must visit the capital city, Malé. It is one of the most densely populated spots on the planet. Over 200,000 people are packed into an area of just 8 square kilometers. There are no parks here, no sprawling backyards, only a vertical jungle of concrete rising out of the sea. The tension is palpable. While a tourist 50 miles away enjoys a private beach, a Malawian family in Malé might be living in a cramped apartment where the rent rivals that of London or New York. This density creates a social pressure cooker. Beyond the resort borders, there is a complex society grappling with the influences of radicalization, drug addiction among the youth, and a struggle to maintain a conservative Islamic identity in the face of a westernized tourism machine. The historical weight of this struggle is often ignored. For centuries, the Maldives was a sultanate, protected by its isolation in the treacherous reefs that wrecked foreign ships. But the 1970s brought the first tourists, and with them, a total shift in the nation's DNA. The economy pivoted from the sea to the service of the stranger. Now the nation is addicted to the very industry that threatens to drown it. The carbon footprint of a single high-end resort, with its desalinated water and air-conditioned tents, is astronomical compared to the traditional Malawian lifestyle. This brings us to a darker chapter, the hidden labor. Behind every flawless villa is a small army of workers. In many resorts, the staff-to-guest ratio is 3-to-1. These workers live in back-of-house quarters, essentially invisible villages tucked away in the center of the resort islands. While guests dine on lobster, the workers, often separated from their families for months at a time, navigate a strict hierarchy. There is a deep, unspoken divide between the international managers and the local or migrant laborers who keep the machinery running. The paradise is a product manufactured by people who often cannot afford to live in the very nation they serve. Furthermore, let us consider the geographic violence of dredging. To build the iconic palm-shaped islands, the government uses massive suction dredgers. These machines vacuum up millions of tons of sand from the lagoon floors and blast it onto the reefs. While this creates new land, it creates underwater dust storms of silt that settle on the remaining coral, choking them to death. We are literally killing the foundation of the country to build a few more hotel rooms. This is the ultimate final revelation. The Maldives is cannibalizing its own natural heritage to fund its survival against a climate crisis it didn't cause. They're building new elevated islands like Hulhumalé, a city of hope reclaimed from the sea. It sits 2 meters higher than the natural islands, protected by massive seawalls. It is a feat of engineering, but it is also a confession. It is an admission that the natural Maldives may not survive the century. The country is essentially preparing to move onto life rafts made of sand and concrete. But what of the culture? When an island is lost to the sea, it isn't just land that disappears, it is the stories of the elders and the connection to the ancestors. If the Maldives eventually becomes a series of artificial platforms, is it still the Maldives? The struggle for the soul of the Maldives is also played out in its water. Fresh water is the most precious commodity here. Naturally, islands rely on a freshwater lens, a layer of rainwater that floats on top of the denser salt water beneath the sand. But as sea levels rise, salt water is seeping into these lenses, poisoning the wells. Today, almost every inhabited island relies on energy-intensive desalination plants. This creates a feedback loop. To get water to survive the heat, they must burn diesel to power the plants, which releases more carbon, which increases the heat. To solve this, the Maldives is now experimenting with the floating city. Imagine a modular city of 5,000 floating units tethered to the seabed, designed to rise with the tides. This is a radical shift from the traditional Maldivian way of life. Instead of being anchored to the land, the people will live on hexagons of recycled material. It is a futuristic solution to an ancient problem, but it raises a terrifying question. If we must live on the water because the land is gone, are we still inhabitants of Earth, or have we become a new species of oceanic nomads? As we look at these islands, we are looking at the future of our entire planet. The Maldives is the canary in the coal mine for our global era. It forces us to ask, what is the true value of beauty? Is a paradise worth visiting if its existence requires the systematic destruction of its own soul? We treat the Earth as a resource to be consumed, a backdrop for our memories. Yet the geography of the Maldives reminds us that the Earth is a living, reacting entity. When we change the chemistry of the air, the ocean responds. When we demand endless luxury on a finite island, the land scars. The dark side of paradise is not a call to stop visiting, but a plea to stop looking away. Every choice we make, from the plastics we use to the carbon we emit, ripples across the Indian Ocean and hits these fragile shores. The people of the Maldives are not just hotel staff or boat captains. They're the guardians of a dying world, standing on the edge of the abyss while the rest of the world looks at the sunset. They're pioneers of a new kind of existence, the first climate refugees, or perhaps the first citizens of a floating future. As we finish this journey, I want you to look beyond the turquoise. Next time you see a picture of a perfect tropical getaway, ask yourself, where does the waste go? Who lives behind the palm trees? And what happens when the tide finally comes in for good? The Maldives is a mirror. In its struggle to survive, we see the reflection of our own global choices. If we cannot save the most beautiful place on Earth, what hope do we have for the rest? Humanity's relationship with the Earth has always been one of take and give. But in the Maldives, we have taken until there is almost nothing left but the view. We are guests on this planet, but we act like owners. As the waves continue to rise, we must ask ourselves, if paradise is lost, where will we go to find our souls? This isn't just about an island nation in the Indian Ocean. This is about the legacy we leave for every generation that follows. The sand is slipping through our fingers. Do you believe that we have the right to visit places that our presence is actively destroying? Or is the witness of their beauty the only thing that will eventually save them? Subscribe to Pride Traveler TV to see the realities that maps hide and the stories that postcards won't tell. We travel to see the world, but we must also travel to see the truth.